continue to not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day.
This is Umar for IFL TV. I'm joined by Gareth A Davies. I was in London with him yesterday at a, well, how do we describe that press conference? Quite crazy?
Yeah, pandemonium. Absolute chaos. Ended abruptly by John Fury, who's apologised today, by the way. Have you seen that?
Does he have to?
No, I mean, obviously feels bad about his language, as he said, and he just thought about it. He just exploded, didn't he? That's John. He's very temperamental in that way, and I think he meant what he said at the time, which was people were getting under his skin. But he's apologised. Look, that did massive numbers yesterday. It's not real boxing. It's the crossover stuff. It's sports entertainment. It's clickbait. It's the giant cake. It's the giant cake throwing and eating show yesterday. The Dylan Dennis cake. What do you make of it? It's just not real boxing. If that had happened with, say, we're here in Wrocław.
Is that how you say it?
I think so.
Okay.
Here in Poland, where obviously Daniel Dubois and Usyk are working out tonight in the ring. We're about to go and see them. If that happened in the press conference here tomorrow, and there was a massive kind of fallout in that way, then it probably would make headlines around the world in the mainstream media. But that was in a certain highway, a certain section of people who watched that yesterday. It's the subscribers of those guys. It was bordering WWE, wasn't it? With the security guards that you don't normally have at WWE.
Tell you what, though, I preferred listening to John Fury over Logan Paul and Dylan Dennis going back at it, I'll have to say. I preferred John Fury's bit.
It was kind of crazy. It was no one was stopping him. And I noticed that Dylan Dennis and Logan Paul.
I don't even know what was going on there.
No, Dylan Dennis was on the side with Tommy Fury, obviously. Then you had Logan Paul and KSI on the other side. They didn't get that near Big John. But we don't want to see that kind of fistic carnage, because I don't think a punch landed.
But what I'm saying is, I don't know really what was going on between Logan and Dylan. I'm glad sort of John Fury
I don't know, but we
that.
know what was going on. There's been a trolling from Dylan Dennis, who's an amazing troll on social media, probably going below the belt. I spoke to Logan Paul about that yesterday, whether it's below the belt to pick on a fiancée in that way and do what he's done, and you can see it. It's on the Talk Sport interview. Did you get Logan yesterday?
Coogan interviewed him. Yeah.
Coogan interviewed. Well, I spoke to Logan in his dressing room in the bowels of the OVO Arena, and once I asked him that question, he just let rip. That the guy, his opponent, is a spiteful, nasty so-and-so. You got to wonder whether it's going to be Dylan Dennis and Logan Paul in that ring, because Platinum Mike Perry's there as a replacement. Man, that guy can fight. And Dylan obviously is a ground fighter, Conor McGregor's jiu-jitsu partner, training partner, and Logan is more of a wrestler than a boxer, but he has done 8 rounds with Mayweather. We had a stare out over that yesterday. He said, "Oh, I don't remember it." I said, "Come on." Because he was quite impressive against Mayweather in weird ways, wasn't he?
I have to admit, I didn't watch it.
Okay, well, there you go.
I didn't stay up for that.
You want to keep up with the whole Misfits era. Who's the king of the Misfits era?
You have to say Tommy Fury's the king at the moment.
He is.
Yeah,
he is. And look, that is going to be one of your questions about this. Tommy Fury needs to just carry on doing this. He's got a good problem to have. It probably beats him up inside that he's not going the traditional route. But he's a young father. He's in love with Molly May and Bambi. And he probably is itching to be considered a true fighting man, professional fighter. But he's going to end up fighting all these guys.
Well, who's going to refuse $5-10 million over 6 or 8 rounds?
Well,
no one would.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Right, let's talk about this week, Gareth. As you said, we're in Wrocław, Poland.
Wrocław.
I can't do that.
I'm struggling myself.
Just now we've got to sit down. Normally we're rushing about. I'm speaking to workouts or presses and weigh-ins, and lots of craziness is going on, and we've only got a limited amount of time. Now we've got a little bit more time. These fight weeks, I think, are stressful for me, but I'm just doing this. I don't know how you manage it. You've got the Telegraph that obviously you write for. You've got Talk Sport stuff. Just talk to me about a major fight week like this away from home.
You want the anatomy of a fight week?
For Gareth A Davies.
Oh, for me? Well, obviously, it's all built around the set pieces. We're building up. We're live from here on Talk Sport on Saturday night from 9 p.m. I think we're taking the top 4 fights. Obviously, Hamza Shiraz, WBC International Silver middleweight, isn't it? Adam Hamed's debut. Nazim's here. Spencer Oliver's spoken to him already. The big fight, Daniel Dubois challenging Oleskandr Usyk for 3 of the 4 main world title belts. That's a big build-up every day. So we do a daily podcast. We do all the set pieces. We do live hits into shows, either on video or just on audio. We're going all the way from breakfast in the morning through Jim White and Simon Jordan, through the afternoon with Hawksby and Baker. I've just done a hit to Hawksby and Baker. Several changes of clothes because it's like a Britney Spears concert. No, we've got the workouts in a little while. We'll do a podcast from that tonight. We're doing into Sports Bar, I think at about 10:30. So that's all day.
You also have to go and run and get me an adapter. Should we tell people about that?
I've been to for you, because you were so busy earlier, and given that the supermarket is right, or the shopping mall isn't right next door, and I needed one as well, I got you an adapter. £1.60 you owe me, or whatever it was. I've got a planning meeting with the Telegraph for a couple of pieces later in the week, one on Dubois and one on Usyk. Got to sit down in the evenings and write those. Got to find the time to get them interviewed. I'm preparing material, I'm allowed to mention them, for my Boxing Social Fight Club next week. Hoping to get El Brook on that, believe it or not. Johnny Fisher and Kane Baker were on this week. Fantastic show. That's out later. Interview with Don Charles and Frank Warren on that as well. What else is there? Making sure I'm on top of it for William Hill. Recorded last night.
Busy stuff. Then.
Yeah, and several interviews. Like working with you guys, working with a lot of the other social media groups. Obviously, you're my favourite. You're my favourite at IFL as well. Even above the great Kugan Cassius.
Have I overtaken him in your books?
Yeah, of course you have.
Oh, wow.
He just swans about and flicks his hair these days, doesn't he? And lights a cigar. So what else is there? Yeah, it's looking ahead to stuff, trying to get the inside track on what's happening with Alexander Krasiuk and Oleskandr Usyk, and talks with Fury and Warren and the Saudis over what's happening next year, trying to bury into that, not necessarily writing all the detail, but trying to find out the inside track on what's happening in the background. I think there's more. But that's on a daily basis, really. I mean, I'm hoping that get a good chance to sit down with Frank Warren and explore some of the background to it. I'm looking forward to trying to have a chat with Naseem Hamed this week. So those are all the things on my agenda. And obviously we've got workouts tonight. Won't finish till midnight, working because of the radio slots. We've got the press conference tomorrow that's very important. See what they're like. Don Charles I want to speak to as well this week. See how Daniel Dubois is. And then we've got the weigh-ins Friday. And the whole time, I think the point is, you're on in these weeks. It's not a busman's holiday. It's a job.
No, you have to be on. Yeah.
And at the moment, I'm picking Alexander Usyk to win specifically round batting with William Hill. I've picked round 9 for Usyk by stoppage or knockout. I think it more likely stoppage than knockout. But as the week goes on, sometimes your opinion changes. This fight could end in many ways. Dubois could do it early if he hurt Usyk. Usyk could win on points. Look at what's happened over 24 rounds with Anthony Joshua. Usyk's a very patient fighter. Wouldn't surprise me if he won on points. So there's lots of potential outcomes. But ultimately, on these weeks, you're just on. You're looking for little signs of things. Because it's not what they tell you in boxing, it's what you see and what you know. And we end up in like having a little mojito late at night, or a little bevy, and having a little chat about what we've seen. There's a lot of people sharing information around the place who've been involved in boxing a long time. Obviously, the whole Queensberry Warren camp are absolutely convinced that they will have got this in the bag. But I'm fascinated to see how Daniel really is mentally, because he's going to have to wait in the ring 15 minutes. While Usyk laps it up, soaks it up, while 40,000 Ukrainian fans cheer him to the ring, and then he has his anthem. So there's a little potted history of the anatomy of a fight week for me. And I've never been to Poland to cover a fight before, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, really nice place. We've only been here a few hours, but really nice people, really small town feel to it, but very picturesque. It's just great here, actually.
Very
Wrocław.
historic.
Yeah, historic.
And what I've learnt already is a lot of Ukrainians. I've obviously come here as refugees from the war, but it's a big university town, and it's a renowned place for Ukrainians to come and study and settle here. So there's a very big expat Ukrainian community here, as well as a lot of people that have come here, obviously as refugees from the atrocities and the troubles and the war that's going on the other side of the border.
Yeah, as I said, very friendly and very welcoming. However, on Saturday night, we know it's going to be extremely hostile for Daniel Dubois, 43,000 Ukrainians in attendance. So more than anything, he's going to have to hold his nerve on Saturday.
Metaphorically and physically, Daniel is going into the lion's den, whether he likes or not, against the big cat. We call him the cat. He's known as the cat. He's such a brilliant mover as Usyk. Has amazing ring IQ. He's been a ring general over 24 rounds with Anthony Joshua. Probably lost, you could say 8 of 24 rounds, but he's won the other rounds, and handsomely some of them. What Daniel Dubois has got to look at, I think it's the 9th round in that second fight with Joshua.
Was he that hurt?
Well, I don't know if he was hurt, but Dubois has got to get him backpedaling. He's got to get him under pressure. Oleskandr Usyk's put out this narrative this week that he was playing when Chisora had him in trouble for. Not in trouble, but was putting pressure on him, was being rumbustious and aggressive and tenacious, and coming forward as he does, peekaboo, rolling and rocking, letting his hands go, big heavy hooks from Derek. I think Dubois has got to hunch down and do that himself. Use his jab when he's standing tall, and really just try and apply his physical strength and superiority over Usyk and not allow him to develop a rhythm, because he will become a cat in there.
Do you think he's a bigger puncher than Anthony Joshua, from what you've heard in the sport, etc.?
Oh, Anthony Joshua's got a massive single punch. I mean, he's got amazing combinations, although he doesn't seem to use them that much anymore. And I don't think we saw many counters from Anthony in that fight with Helenius. He was safety first. The trouble is, with Daniel, we've got... It's hard not to think about that fight with Joe Joyce, who's obviously got a ramrod jab, and he battled Dubois with that ramrod jab, took the right hand away, because the jab does take the right hand away, doesn't it? Was dominating in that fight. I'm glad he took a knee. A young man saved his career, lived to fight another day. Some people say he quit. I don't think he did. That's not how I describe it. Who knows what pain he was in at the time. I think the Kevin Lerena performance is slightly concerning. But obviously he injured his knee. He was caught in the temple early in the fight, but he fought back on that one knee to finish Lerena. Only a cruiserweight, but you could see Daniel's heart. Trevor Bryan, you know, it was an utter dominant performance by the young fighter, and Bryan looked scared, or fearful rather, and out of his depth. So it's all to play for Daniel Dubois. He's got...
So who do you think hits harder? That was the original question.
I know, but I'm trying to work my way there. Potentially, we don't know. People who've sparred with Dubois say he hits very, very hard. Do you remember the old rumour that he'd knocked out Anthony Joshua?
I've heard plenty of rumours about Daniel Dubois.
Yeah, that he's knocked out a lot of people in sparring. He's a very dangerous fighter. He's a very big man. Naturally powerful.
Do you think being a bit naive might actually help him on Saturday night?
I think it does. He can't overthink this. He's got to look at it as a win-win no matter what happens. A simplified, that's why Don Charles, who's not normally a big cheerleader in the way he is, spoke out at the press conference when we were at the Cafe Royal recently for the press conference with them all. Wanted to project what Daniel is inside, because Daniel doesn't do it outwardly. He's a very quiet man. He's a very bashful man in lots of ways. And this could be his coming out party. And he's got to make it so. It's not going to be popular if he wins, but I tell you, it'll be one of the great victories by a Brit abroad if he wins it. To rank with Tyson Fury beating Klitschko, to rank with Cal Brook beating Sean Porter, to rank with Lloyd Honeyghan against Donald Curry. A magnificent victory it'll be heralded as. And also, of course, gives Frank Warren all the world heavyweight title belts. So there's an awful lot here for the promoter and the young fighter. And, I'm sure Daniel Dubois fancies a go at Tyson Fury. And also, what was going to add to that for Daniel, it's a learning fight as well, no matter what happens. I just think he's got to see it as a win-win.
I'm not saying it's going to happen, but the last time a British challenger heavyweight fought a unified Ukrainian heavyweight champion on mainland Europe.
There you go, it was Dusseldorf, 2015.
The belt
I was there, were you there?
No, I wasn't even working.
Oh, you weren't working?
No.
Yeah.
That was
8
years ago. That was a long time ago. Anyways, Gareth, appreciate your time. I'm sure we'll have another catch-up at some point this week, and it's going to be busy for both of us, but a good fight week, hopefully.
You asked the anatomy in my fight week. I'm doing an interview with IFL TV every single day and post-fight.
That's me.
Don't miss it.
Thank you, Gareth.
Cheers.
Not be first.
Do we do enough? Well, I never shut up about it.
It must have been about 16, 17. We nicked their guilt rings. Right, the bouncer's guilt ring.
This is no good for me. That's the reality. If you want the honest truth, and I see it every day,